The nature of the industry in which we find ourselves, in part portrayed by the shape of the long-run supply curve, is in part portrayed by the shape of the long-run supply curve. The table in front of you is a table reflecting costs incurred in the industry and its impact on the long-run supply curve. We then got a brief explanation to the right stating why that's occurred. So we'll take a cost industry, constant cost industry. Long-run supply is horizontal. Demand increases, price rises, and existing firms make abnormal profit. Incentive is provided stimulus for new firms to enter the industry. Supply shifts to the right until price returns to its old level. A decrease in cost industry. The long-run supply is downward sloping. When firms enter, they bring with them new technology, or the increase in the size of the industry allows suppliers to gain economies of scale, reducing costs. The new equilibrium price is below the old level. The long-run supply is downward sloping. Increase in cost industry. Long-run supply is upward sloping. When firms enter, input prices are bid up. The new equilibrium price is above the old equilibrium price. While we have yet to come to the relevant section, it is worth noting at this point that there is no supply curve in monopoly. There is no unique price and output combinations. Firms can produce different quantities at the same price or the quantity at different prices, depending on cost and demand conditions. That's illustrated on the diagrams to your right. In the first diagram, a constant cost industry is supplied at the same price in the long run. In the second, decreasing cost industry supplied with lower price in the long run. And in the third, increasing cost industry supplied at a higher price in the long run. So far you may ask, if perfect competition makes no long run profit, then why have them? Why are perfectly competitive markets desirable? In the long run, firms only make normal profits. Firms are allocatively efficient because they produce where the extra benefit of a unit, represented by the price consumers are willing to pay for it, equals the extra cost. For example, price equals marginal cost. Productively efficient, i.e. firms produce at the minimum of the average cost curve. This is the lowest possible cost per unit. If a firm becomes more efficient than the others, it can earn abnormal profits in the short run. There is an incentive for firms to innovate and become more efficient. However, firms may not be able to afford research and development because they do not earn abnormal profits in the long run. There is a lack of variety for consumers because the products are not differentiated. Again, firms may not be able to afford research and development because they do not earn abnormal profits in the long run. There is a lack of variety for consumers because the products are not differentiated. Monopoly. A monopoly exists where there is a single seller in a market. A monopolist is a price taker. The monopolist faces a downward sloping demand curve and can set a price or output, but not both simultaneously. If the monopolist sets a price, it must accept the quantity that is demanded at this price. If it sets output, it must accept the price that it can get for this quantity. In a monopoly situation, we assume that the firm is faced with a downward sloping demand curve and must lower the price to sell an additional unit. In the situation of a single price monopolist, only one price can be charged for the goods. So if price is lowered on the last unit, it must be lowered on the ones that came before it. If the marginal revenue line is below the average revenue or price line and gets further away from it as more units get sold, this is because the price is continually being reduced on all units before. And that's illustrated on the diagram across. Let's give you a moment to take it in. Clearly at the top, you've got marginal revenue and total revenue curves. You've got a price inelastic of demand. Changing price has no effect on total revenue. So the price elasticity of demand is equal to 1. If the price is inelastic or less than 1, a fall in price decreases total revenue. To the left of that point, if you look at total revenue, to increase sales, the firm has to cut price. Marginal revenue is positive, but falling, so total revenue increases at a slower rate. To the right of that line, where the marginal revenue transects the quantity axis, marginal revenue is 0 at the point illustrated. The maximum sales revenue has been achieved. To sell more, the firm cuts price. Marginal revenue is negative up to the right of that point, so total revenue falls. Short-run abnormal profits. Monopolies can earn abnormal profits in the short and in the long run. This is because of barriers to entry which prevent abnormal profits being competed away. Barriers to entry can be defined as a principal method of creating or preserving a monopoly position. Such barriers can be legal, technological, financial, or based on customers' loyalty. through product differentiation. In the labour market, trade unions and professional associations, for example medical associations, limit the number of entrants to an occupation to preserve the income and employment of their members. Barriers to entry can include legislation, product differentiation, outlet control, fear of competition actions, cost advantages, control over suppliers, patents and trademarks. We'll take each of these in turn. So then a barrier to entry is an aspect of a business that prevents firms from entering an industry in the long run. Legislation is government limitation of competition in certain markets. British Gas and British Telecom were previously state-run monopolies. Product differentiation. By making their products seem very different from the competition through their marketing and branding, a firm can establish monopoly position. Outlet control. By controlling outlets, you can control or prevent your competitors from getting their product to market. Fear of existing business reactions. Firms may not participate if they anticipate a price war. Cost advantages. If a firm has a major cost advantage because of economies of scale, for example, other firms will not be able to compete. Supplier control. If a firm has a monopoly control over the supplies in the industry, other firms will not be able to enter. Patents and trademarks. These provide firms with legal protection for their ideas or designs, which prevent other firms imitating them, hence prolonging profit. Monopoly and efficiency. Now, monopoly is said to be inefficient because it does not produce where the average cost is minimised, therefore productively inefficient. That's denoted by P1, Q0 on the diagram. Similarly, it's faced with the same costs and demands. If the same costs and demands face the perfectly competitive industry, they will produce at P1, Q1, where supply on the marginal cost equals demand. However, between Q0 and Q1, the extra benefit of the unit shown by the price exceeds the extra cost. Therefore, welfare would be increased if this was produced. This area is welfare loss because Q0 to Q1 are not produced by the monopolist. It is allocatively inefficient. In short, monopoly is neither allocatively nor productively efficient by definition. Therefore, it is thought of as an inferior market form than that of perfectly competitive markets. Just notice the time. I'd like to leave that there and come back to natural monopoly in the next section. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you for participating in this lecture in microeconomics. I'll hopefully see you in the next lecture, where we'll be pursuing natural monopolies, their control and contestable markets.